I'm Cheryl, and this is Sleep Tight Relax, a weekly bedtime show for anyone who needs good sleep. In tonight's story, Max the rabbit, curious about the distant and mysterious howl of Howlin Hank the Wolf, learns from his cousin Jumpy the Hare about Hank's unique habit of giving fair warning before chasing his prey. This practice, which began with the very first wolf and was passed down through generations, made Howlin Hank honourable and respected, despite the fear his howl inspired. Inspired by Hank's story of fairness and bravery, Max feels a newfound admiration and strives to embody these values in his own adventures. Before we continue with our story, let's get cozy and take a moment to take some deep, big belly breaths. Breathing in slowly through your nose and slowly out through your mouth. Notice how your belly rises as you fill yourself up with air. Breathe in and breathe out. Notice how relaxing it feels as you release the breath. Breathe in and breathe out. You are becoming relaxed, calm, and peaceful. One more time. Breathe in, hold, and breathe out. Now that you feel more relaxed, let's continue with our story, how Howlin Hank got his name. Max the rabbit had never seen Howlin Hank the Wolf, but he had heard his voice in the distance. The sound made him curious and a little bit shivery. It was very different from the voice of Old Man Coyote. The latter sounded like many voices, but it wasn't as deep and mysterious as Howlin Hank's. Max wanted to learn more about this interesting wolf, so he asked his cousin, Jumpy the Hare, who lived near Howlin Hank's home in the Great Woods. "Did you hear him?" asked Jumpy. "He's got a unique voice, that's for sure. But don't worry, he doesn't come near people's homes. He's quite content in the Great Woods where he belongs." "Why does he howl like that?" Max asked eagerly. "Well," said Jumpy, "it's a family tradition now. But it all started with the very first wolf. Back then, he didn't have a name. Most other animals had names, but nothing seemed to fit the big gray wolf. He looked like his cousin, Mr. Dog, and even more like his cousin, Mr. Coyote, but he was stronger and faster than both. The first wolf was very special. He was big and gray with a strong body and a swift pair of legs. His nose was very keen, and he could sniff out the faintest of scents. Life was easy at first, with plenty of food and everyone getting along. The forest was peaceful, and all the animals lived happily together. But then, food became scarce, and the big animals started hunting the smaller ones. The wolf was very fast and had a keen nose, which made him a great hunter. But he didn't like sneaking around quietly. Instead, he enjoyed running fast and following trails. Most of the animals gave the first wolf a lot of respect. They admired his strength and speed. But as times changed, hunting became necessary for survival. The first wolf, who was just as kind-hearted as he was strong, didn't enjoy sneaking up on others. He wanted to be fair. It just didn't feel right to him to catch someone who didn't have a chance to run. One night, the wolf was thinking about this while looking up at the bright moon. He felt the need to talk about it, so he pointed his nose up at the moon and howled. That was the very first wolf howl ever heard. The moon, kind and gentle, seemed to listen. The sound was so deep and full of emotion that it echoed through the forest. It made him feel better, and he decided to howl every night to let everyone know he was around. The other animals in the forest were puzzled by the sound at first. They had never heard anything like it. Some were scared, but most were simply curious. They wondered what the big gray wolf was up to. One day, when he smelled fresh tracks, he howled again to give fair warning. This gave the animals a chance to run, and the wolf had a fun, fair chase. He didn't catch the deer that day, but he was happy because it felt right. From then on, he always gave fair warning with his howl and felt proud of it. Soon, everyone started calling him Howlin Hank because of his howl. Howlin Hank taught his children to give fair warning too, and it became a habit for the wolf family. They all grew strong and fast because of their fair chases. Although some animals didn't like Hank's howl, he didn't mind. He knew he was doing the right thing. The animals who lived in the great woods started to appreciate Howlin Hank's honesty. They knew that if they heard his howl, they had a chance to escape. It became a game, almost like a race. The deer, the rabbits, and even the squirrels would perk up their ears and run as fast as they could. Sometimes they got away, and sometimes they didn't, but it was always a fair chase. One sunny day, while Max and Jumpy were playing near the edge of the green forest, they heard a distant howl. Max's ears twitched, and he turned to Jumpy with wide eyes. "Is that Howlin Hank?" he asked. Jumpy nodded with a smile. "Yes, it is. He must be teaching his pups how to howl. They need to learn how to give fair warning just like their father." Max was fascinated. He wanted to see Howlin Hank, but was also a little scared. "Do you think we could ever meet him?" Max asked. Jumpy thought for a moment. "Maybe one day when we're much older and braver. For now, it's best to stay in the green forest where we're safe." Max agreed. He didn't want to put himself or Jumpy in danger, but he couldn't help but imagine what it would be like to see the great Howlin Hank up close. He pictured the big gray wolf with his proud stance and bushy tail howling at the moon. As the days passed, Max couldn't stop thinking about Howlin Hank. He asked Jumpy to tell him more stories about the great woods and the other animals who lived there. Jumpy was happy to share what he knew. He told Max about the playful otters, the wise old owls, and the mischievous raccoons. One evening, as the sun was setting and the sky turned a beautiful shade of pink and orange, Max and Jumpy sat on a grassy hill and listened to the sounds of the forest. They heard the soft rustling of leaves, the chirpings of crickets, and the distant howl of Howlin Hank. It was a peaceful, comforting sound, and it made Max feel safe, knowing that Howlin Hank was out there, being fair and honorable. Max turned to Jumpy and said, "You know, I think Howlin Hank is a hero. He stands up for what's right and makes sure everyone has a fair chance. I want to be like him when I grow up." Jumpy smiled and patted Max on the back. "You already are, Max. You have a good heart, and you care about others. That's what makes a true hero." Max felt proud and happy. He knew that as long as he did his best to be fair and kind, he could make a difference in the world, just like Howlin Hank. And with that thought, Max and Jumpy headed back to their cozy home in the briar patch, ready to rest and dream about new adventures. The next day, Max woke up with a big smile. He felt excited and full of energy. "Let's go exploring," he said to Jumpy. "I want to see if we can find new trails or hidden spots in the forest." Jumpy agreed, and the two cousins set off on their adventure. They hopped through the tall grass, leaped over small streams, and squeezed through dense bushes. They discovered a beautiful meadow filled with colorful flowers and butterflies. They even found a secret pond with crystal clear water where they could see fish swimming below the surface. As they explored, Max and Jumpy made up stories about the animals they imagined lived in the meadow and pond. Max pretended to be a brave explorer, while Jumpy was the wise guide who knew all the secrets of the forest. They laughed and played until the sun was high in the sky and their stomachs started to rumble. Feeling hungry, they decided to head back to the briar patch for lunch. As they made their way home, they heard the familiar sound of Howlin Hank's howl in the distance. Max stopped and listened, feeling a sense of awe and admiration for the noble wolf. Jumpy noticed Max's expression and said, "You know, Max, even though Howlin Hank is far away in the great woods, he's still a part of our lives. His howl reminds us to be fair and brave, just like him." Max nodded. "I think you're right, Jumpy. Howlin Hank's story has taught me a lot about being honorable and kind. I'll always remember his howl and what it stands for." And so Max and Jumpy continued their journey home, grateful for the lessons they had learned from Howlin Hank. They knew that no matter what adventures lay ahead, they would face them with fairness, courage, and a kind heart, just like their hero, Howlin Hank the Wolf. Max and Jumpy returned to the briar patch just as their tummies gave a loud growl. They giggled at the sound and hurried inside to enjoy a delicious lunch of fresh veggies and fruits. As they ate, they talked about all the fun they'd had that morning and planned their next adventure. "Maybe tomorrow we can explore the other side of the meadow," suggested Max. "I heard some old trees there are perfect for climbing." "That sounds like a great idea," agreed Jumpy. "We'll pack a picnic and make a day of it." With their plans set, Max and Jumpy finished their lunch and spent the afternoon relaxing in the sunshine. They lay on their backs, watching the clouds drift by and imagining all the shapes they could see. Max saw a cloud that looked like a bunny, and Jumpy spotted one that resembled a big, friendly wolf. As the day turned to evening, Max and Jumpy sat together under the stars. They listened once more for the distant howl of Howlin Hank and felt a warm sense of connection to the noble wolf and the lessons he had taught them. "Good night, Jumpy," said Max as he snuggled into his cozy bed of leaves. "Thanks for telling me all about Howlin Hank. I feel braver and kinder because of him." "Good night, Max," replied Jumpy, tucking his cousin in. "Sweet dreams and happy adventures." And with that, Max drifted off to sleep, dreaming of fair chases, howling wolves, and the beautiful forest he called home. The story of Howlin Hank the Wolf would stay with him forever, a reminder of the importance of fairness, bravery, and kindness in every adventure. If you are still awake, I would like you to whisper to yourself or just say in your mind, "I face challenges with bravery and kindness." I can learn from the stories and lessons of others. I am proud of my uniqueness and the positive impact I can make. I treat everyone with respect and kindness. I am calm, relaxed, and peaceful. Good night. Sleep tight.